The space station floated above a silent blue planet, its metal frame shining like a lonely star. Inside the station worked humans and aliens side by side, but they never trusted each other. They shared air, tools, and corridors, but not hearts. Elias was a human engineer, quiet and patient. He came from a small Earth colony where kindness still meant something. Every morning he fixed broken machines and adjusted air filters. He liked small things that kept life going. One day during his lunch break, Elias noticed something strange. A small alien worker, thin and trembling, was carrying her food tray away from the main hall. She looked afraid, her eyes wide like someone hiding a secret. Elias followed her quietly, not to spy, but because something felt wrong. She walked down to the lower maintenance deck where no one ever went. The air was colder there and lights flickered. At the end of the corridor was a sealed door marked with alien symbols. The worker pressed her hands on it, and it opened slowly with a deep sound. Inside was darkness, and the smell of something old and weak. Then Elias saw her, a tall figure sitting against the wall, her skin glowing faintly blue. Her crown of bone was cracked, and her eyes half closed. It was the alien queen, the ruler of this species. But she looked nothing like the proud image on the holoscreens. She looked lost, starving, almost human in her pain. The worker placed the food tray before her and stepped back in fear. The queen touched the food but didn't eat. Her voice was soft but carried power. "They fear poison," she whispered. "So they send me scraps. I am already forgotten." Elias's heart tightened. He saw the truth in her words. She was in exile, kept alive only for politics. The worker bowed and left quickly. Afraid to stay too long, Elias stood frozen, his hand still holding his own lunch pack. The queen raised her eyes and noticed him. "A human?" she said slowly. Her tone carried both confusion and curiosity. "Why do you walk among ghosts?" Elias took a careful step forward. "I fix machines," he said, "and sometimes broken things that breathe." The queen looked at him for a long moment. The air between them felt heavy. He saw her hunger, not just for food but for dignity. Without thinking, he opened his lunch pack. It was simple: bread, dried fruit, and a small cup of soup. He walked forward and placed it in front of her. The guards at the door shouted in alarm, "Stop! Contamination protocol!" But the queen raised one hand and they froze. Her eyes never left Elias. "You would give food of your kind to me?" she asked. "Your people call us monsters." Elias nodded slowly. "Food is life, and you look like someone who needs it." The queen hesitated. Her long fingers trembled as she picked up a piece of bread. She smelled it, unsure, then tasted. A strange silence filled the chamber. The moment she swallowed, something changed. Her eyes brightened, and her voice grew softer. "Warm," she whispered. "It is warm," Elias smiled. "It's just bread." "No," she said, shaking her head. "It is something else. For the first time in years." The queen felt the warmth of another being's care. Around them, even the guards lowered their weapons. Uncertain of what they were seeing, the queen, the feared ruler of 1,000 worlds, eating the food of a human. Elias sat near her quietly while she finished her meal. "You are different," she said at last. "Most of your kind look at us with hate." "Maybe hate just needs to eat," Elias said with a small laugh. "Hunger makes everyone the same." The queen looked at him long and deep. "Your words carry weight, human," she said. "What is your name?" "Elias," he replied. She repeated the name slowly, like tasting it. "Elias," she whispered. "It sounds like a word from my ancient tongue." "It means one who gives," Elias blinked. "Then maybe our worlds are not so far apart." But their quiet moment was broken by the hiss of the door opening again. A squad of alien soldiers entered, their armor shining and weapons ready. Behind them stood a tall alien noble, eyes filled with anger. "What have you done?" he shouted. "The human has defiled the sacred chamber." The queen rose to her feet, her body glowing brighter now. "He has done what none of you could," she said in a calm but powerful tone. "He remembered kindness," the noble hissed in fear. "You would defend this creature?" "I would defend life," she replied, "and you will not touch him." Elias felt the tension rise. He knew he had broken every rule, but something inside told him it was right. The queen turned to him, her voice now low but strong. "Leave this place, Elias, before they forget I still command." Elias nodded, his heart beating fast as he stepped backward. The queen raised her hand. A faint mark of light appeared on his wrist, glowing softly like a tiny flame. "What is this?" he asked. "A sign," she said, "so that my kind will know." You once fed their queen. The soldiers looked at the glowing mark and hesitated. No one dared move. Elias turned and left the chamber, his mind spinning, his heart heavy. He didn't know that the mark on his hand would soon become a legend. Back in the upper decks, humans whispered as he passed. The aliens looked away, but deep below in the shadowed room the queen sat silently, holding the small empty cup he had left behind. For the first time in years she felt alive, and somewhere, in the quiet of the station, something ancient began to stir. The human who shared a meal had just changed the fate of two worlds. Alarms echoed through the metal halls of the station. Red lights flashed like angry stars. Humans whispered. Aliens shouted. The word spread faster than fire. A human fed the queen. Elias was taken into custody, his hands bound. His heart pounded, not from fear but confusion. He had only offered food, yet now soldiers treated him like a criminal. The alien commander, tall and cold-eyed, stared at him through the cell window. You touched the exiled one, he said. You broke every sacred law. I only helped someone who was hungry, Elias replied softly. Is kindness a crime here? The commander said nothing, but his jaw tightened. In this station, he whispered, kindness can start wars. While they argued, far below in the queen's dark chamber, the mark on Elias's wrist began to shimmer. The queen sat alone, her eyes glowing faint blue. Her mind reached through walls and steel, searching for the human spirit. She could feel the warmth of his act echoing through her soul. She rose slowly, her strength returning. The guards knelt as she passed. Unsure what power had awakened, her footsteps were light. But every sound made the air tremble. When she reached the council hall, all voices fell silent. The council of alien nobles stood in fear. Their eyes glowed red with anger. You have broken the ancient balance, hissed one. You allowed a human to taint your chamber. The queen's voice rang clear. He shared life with me, she said, and I shared it back. Her hand lifted high, showing the same glowing mark that now burned on Elias's wrist. The nobles gasped, for they knew the sign. It was the mark of union, an ancient symbol of sacred bond, a sign not seen for 1,000 years. One counselor trembled. That mark, he whispered, was given only to those chosen by the ancients. Yes, the queen said, her eyes fierce, and now it lives again, on a human. The chamber filled with shock and rage. Some called it blasphemy. Others called it destiny. The queen looked calm, her gaze fixed on the stars beyond the glass. If a simple act of sharing food can break our laws, she said, then perhaps our laws were broken long ago. Meanwhile, Elias sat in his cell when the wall lights flickered. The door hissed open and 2 alien guards entered. Come, one said. The queen commands you. They led him through long corridors, past staring eyes. Humans and aliens alike stopped to watch. Some whispered, that's him, the one who fed her. Inside the royal chamber, Elias found the queen standing tall and radiant. Her glow filled the room like gentle fire. He bowed slightly, unsure what to say. You should not be here, he began. They will punish you. They will not dare, she said softly. Not while I breathe. She reached forward and touched the mark on his wrist. It pulsed with light, and he felt warmth spread through his body. Do you know what this means? She asked. Elias shook his head. No, but it feels alive. It is, she said. You carry a bond of my kind, one that cannot be broken by time or death. He looked into her eyes. Why me? Because, she said slowly, you remembered what the universe forgot. Mercy. Suddenly the chamber doors burst open. A human commander, dressed in silver armor, marched in with armed soldiers. Step away from the alien, Elias, he ordered. You're under direct command from Earth. You are to be detained and transferred immediately. Elias stood frozen. I didn't do anything wrong. You fraternized with a hostile sovereign, the commander barked. You've endangered every treaty we have. Before he could finish, the queen's power surged. Blue energy rippled through the air. The soldiers stumbled backward, their weapons trembling. You will not take him, she said, her voice echoing like thunder. The commander aimed his weapon. Then this means war. Then let it come, she whispered, her gaze unbroken. The air turned heavy. Like a storm waiting to strike, Elias felt torn between 2 worlds. Between duty and heart, between law and compassion. The queen stepped closer to him. From this moment, she said, your name carries my mark. No one will harm you. Not while my kind, remember. She looked toward the commander. Tell your world the Queen owes a debt to one human. And she pays her debts. The commander hesitated, his face pale. He knew this was no empty threat. He lowered his weapon. This is not over, he said, and turned away when the doors closed. Silence filled the room again. The Queen turned to Elias. They will hunt you, she said quietly. Both your kind and mine. Elias sighed. Then I guess I'll need to be careful, the Queen smiled faintly. You will need more than caution, she said. You will need courage. Elias looked down at the mark on his wrist. Glowing like a tiny sun. What happens now? He asked. She stepped back, her eyes full of something almost human. Now, she said, we wait for the storm. Outside the windows, distant lightning flashed across the planet's atmosphere. The station trembled slightly as if the universe itself had felt the shift. Elias didn't yet know it, but this was only the beginning. That one meal had changed him and her. And soon it would change everything. Far below the station, alien warships began to awaken from their long sleep, their engines humming like beasts remembering their hunger. The silence of space never lasted long. Soon the whispers turned into commands. Ships moved, soldiers gathered, and every screen on the station filled with the same warning. Conflict protocol activated. Elias stood at the observation deck, staring at the blue planet below. He could see tiny sparks of light where ships began to align, human fleets on one side, alien war cruisers on the other, both preparing for war. He never imagined that a simple act of kindness could lead to this. His hand still glowed faintly with the mark of the Queen. Each pulse of light felt like a heartbeat that was not only his. Behind him, footsteps echoed softly. It was Captain Mara, a human officer who had known Elias for years. She looked tired, her eyes red from too many briefings. Elias, she said quietly, what did you do to her? I gave her food, he said, and she gave me trouble. Mara sighed. The council back on Earth thinks you've been influenced. They want to use you to negotiate or destroy whatever this mark is. Elias shook his head. It's not a weapon, it's something alive. Before she could answer, the lights flickered and the entire deck vibrated. Alien ships had locked onto human targets. The first battle line was forming. At the same time, deep in the alien capital ship, the Queen stood on her throne platform, her energy brighter than ever. The nobles demanded she step down, calling her bond with a human an infection. She looked at them calmly. If compassion is an infection, she said, then may it consume us all. Her generals refused to fight, half of them ready to overthrow her. The Queen's voice thundered, You would defy your Queen? A bold general stepped forward. You are no queen now. You are tainted. The Queen raised her hand, energy surging through the chamber. Then let the tainted stand against the pure, she said. Her guards drew weapons. The chamber erupted into chaos. Meanwhile, Elias watched in horror as the human commander, General Knox, gave orders for full engagement. We strike first, he said coldly. We can't let them regroup. Mara grabbed Elias's arm. We have to stop this, she said. If you can reach her, maybe she'll listen. Elias looked at the glowing mark. Maybe she already is. At that moment, the mark flared with blinding light and a voice entered his mind. Soft but powerful, Elias, it said. They turn against me and your people move to strike. The bond calls you, come to me, Elias gasped. She's in my head. Mara's eyes widened. Then go before it's too late. With a small shuttle and no permission, Elias launched from the human hangar, dodging warning shots. The ship rattled as he entered the war zone between two massive fleets. His tiny craft looked like a spark between giants. Alien ships aimed but paused as their sensors recognized the Queen's mark, glowing through the cockpit glass. The Queen's command echoed across their comms. Do not harm the one who carries my bond. When Elias landed on the alien flagship, the doors opened to a scene of chaos. Smoke filled the halls, and soldiers fought each other, some loyal to the Queen, others calling for her death. Elias pushed through, his steps steady. The mark on his wrist pulsed brighter, guiding him through the fire. He reached the throne chamber just as the Queen stood alone against a dozen attackers. Her power flared like a storm, but even she was weakening. Stop! Elias shouted, stepping between them. She's not your enemy. The alien warriors hesitated, confused by the sight of a human standing before their Queen. The general sneered. You dare interfere, human? Elias raised his arm, showing the mark. I don't care about your war or your pride, he said. But she saved me and I won't let you kill her. The general laughed. You protect her, then die with her. He fired his weapon, but in that instant the queen moved. The energy blast struck her instead of Elias. The sound was like thunder inside metal walls. She fell to her knees, light spilling from her wound. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. No, he whispered. Stay with me. Her hand trembled as it touched his cheek. Do not weep, Elias, she said softly. The bond does not end with breath. The soldiers stopped fighting. Staring in disbelief, the queen's glow began to fade. But her voice filled every mind in the chamber. You call him human, but he carries our light now. Protect him, for he carries what we lost. The general dropped his weapon, his face pale. What have you done? The queen smiled faintly. I have remembered who we were. Her eyes closed, and the light faded. Elias held her still body, feeling the mark on his wrist burn hotter than ever. He didn't know what was happening, but her energy began to flow into him, threads of blue light wrapping around his skin like silk. When he finally looked up, the soldiers had fallen to their knees. Some whispered the ancient phrase only spoken for the chosen, the beloved of her kind. Outside, the fleet suddenly went silent. The Queen's flagship stopped transmitting commands and both sides hesitated. Elias sat beside her body, trembling, whispering, You gave everything for peace. The mark pulsed once more. A heartbeat that was not his own across the galaxy. Ancient beacons of the alien empire began to activate for the first time in 1,000 years, each one pulsing with the same light as the mark on Elias's wrist. The universe had begun to listen. The throne chamber was silent. Only the low hum of dying energy filled the air. Elias sat on the cold floor, the Queen's body in his arms. Her skin, once glowing like soft starlight, had faded to pale silver, yet the mark on his wrist still burned bright, pulsing in rhythm with something unseen. He looked around. Alien soldiers knelt, none dared speak. Even those who had tried to kill her bowed their heads, for they had witnessed a power that was not anger, not vengeance but love. A faint whisper echoed in Elias's mind. It was her voice, soft as wind. Do not grieve. My light is not gone, Elias gasped. You're still here. Her voice smiled within him. Part of me remains, bound through the mark. Bound through you, the mark flared again, and blue streams of light rose from her body, swirling around him like living mist. They entered his skin, his veins, his eyes. He saw flashes, memories of her childhood on a crystal world. Her rise to power. Her loneliness on a throne built from fear. He saw it all as if he had lived it. When the light faded, the Queen's body turned to dust that shimmered and vanished. The soldiers cried out softly. Their queen was gone. Yet her presence filled the room stronger than before. Elias stood slowly, his eyes now glowing faint blue. She's not dead, he whispered. She's... Inside, a priest among the aliens stepped forward. Eye trembling. The ancient bond fulfilled, he murmured. The Queen's spirit walks in flesh anew. Elias didn't understand all their words, but he felt her heartbeat echo with his. She was part of him now, her wisdom whispering at the edge of every thought. Alarms began to sound again. Human ships had detected the power surge. They were preparing to fire. Mara's voice came through his comlink. Broken with static, Elias, the fleets are ready to strike. The generals think you're dead. You have to stop this before they destroy everything. Elias took a deep breath. Tell them to wait, tell them to listen. He turned toward the alien soldiers. Take me to your command bridge. They obeyed without question, for in their eyes he now carried their queen's authority. As he entered the bridge, thousands of alien captains appeared on holographic screens. Each demanded answers. Elias stood tall, his voice calm. Your queen is gone, but her will lives. Through me, murmurs filled the air. Blasphemy, some said. Miracle, said others. He raised his marked hand, the light expanding through the entire ship. She gave me her gift, he said. Not power, not rule, but understanding. She saw what you could not, that our two kinds are not enemies but reflections. The alien priests fell to their knees, chanting in old tongues. The generals hesitated, unsure what to believe. Elias activated the ship's main comms, broadcasting his voice to every ship, human and alien alike. This is Elias, he said, the one who shared a meal. You all prepare for war, but I tell you, the Queen gave her life to stop it, and I will not let her sacrifice fade. The mark flared brighter. Its glow visible from orbit, the human fleets froze. their sensors detecting an impossible energy field. General Knox's voice came through. "Elias, what have you done? That energy can destroy the fleet." "It won't destroy," Elias said. "It will remind." From deep within the planet below, massive pillars of light erupted. They were ancient alien beacons, long dormant, now awakened by the Queen's final gift. Each one pulsed with the same rhythm as his mark, spreading waves of calm energy across space. Every human ship, every alien vessel stopped firing, their systems overwhelmed by the signal. Soldiers dropped their weapons as warmth filled their hearts. Not fear, but memory. They saw visions, the Queen feeding a starving child, humans sharing bread in the ruins of Earth. Small acts of kindness repeated across history, Mara whispered from the human command deck. "It's showing us who we are." Elias fell to his knees, his body shaking from the energy flowing through him. The Queen's voice echoed within. "You carry my light well, Elias, remember. Peace is not born from silence, but from the courage to speak kindness." "I can't hold it much longer," he gasped. "Then let it go," she whispered, "and let them see." He spread his arms, and the energy burst outward like a second sunrise. It swept across the fleets, through the stars, through every living soul connected by thought or fear. The war ended in that moment, not through victory but through awakening. When the light faded, the ships drifted quietly, no longer enemies, the communication lines filled with silence. Then with a single message repeated across both networks, "We remember the Queen." Elias collapsed, his body weak but alive. Mara's voice came through again, crying softly. "You did it, Elias. It's over." He smiled faintly. "No," he whispered. "It's just beginning." He looked out the window at the calm stars. The mark on his wrist dimmed but never vanished. It had become part of him, part of the universe. Far beyond the known systems, ancient watchers stirred from their slumber, sensing the rebirth of the lost bond between races, whispering one name through the dark, the human who fed the Queen. The war ended not with fire, but with silence. Ships that once aimed their cannons now floated side by side. The stars around the station glowed brighter than before, as if the universe itself was breathing again. Elias woke in the medbay, weak but alive, his body ached. Yet his heart felt lighter. Around him stood both human and alien healers, working together for the first time. Their eyes carried the same look, wonder mixed with disbelief. When he opened his eyes fully, Mara smiled. "You scared the galaxy," she said softly. "But you also saved it." Elias tried to laugh, but his throat was dry. "I just shared my lunch," he whispered. Outside the station windows, the planet below shimmered with light. From the ruins of old alien temples, blue fire rose into the sky, forming a symbol, the same glowing mark from his wrist. It spread across continents like a message written by the stars. The Queen's voice still lived within him. "Gentle and calm, they remember," she whispered. "Now guide them." Weeks passed, the fleets disarmed, treaties signed. For the first time in centuries, alien and human leaders met not as rivals but as equals. They spoke under a new banner, a single emblem of two hands sharing bread across the cosmos. Elias stood before the assembly, his simple engineer's uniform replaced by white robes marked with the symbol of unity. He didn't like titles, but the universe had already given him one. The beloved of her kind. He spoke slowly so that even the smallest listeners could understand. "The Queen didn't die for power," he said. "She died for understanding. We feared each other for so long that we forgot what it means to care. All it took was one meal to remind us that life isn't about walls, but about bridges." Across the galaxies, monuments began to rise, some on alien worlds, some on human colonies, all carved from stone and light. Each statue showed the same moment, one human kneeling, offering food to an alien queen. Children from both races came to those monuments to leave gifts of bread, fruit or water, not in worship but in gratitude. They called the day of sharing. Mara became the first ambassador of the new alliance. She often told the story wherever she traveled. "He didn't have an army," she said. "He had kindness." And that was enough. But the story didn't end there. One night, years later, Elias stood alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. The mark on his wrist glowed softly again. "You still watching?" he whispered. The Queen's voice answered within. "Always," he smiled. "They're doing well because you reminded them how," she whispered. "And because you kept your promise," He looked to the horizon where ships of mixed crews now journeyed together. Human and alien laughter echoing through shared comms. The galaxy was changing not through fear but through hope. As the wind passed through the open balcony, he closed his eyes, remembering that first day, the quiet room, the fragile alien queen, and the simple act that started everything. He whispered. It all began with one meal. The mark pulsed once more. A faint heartbeat of light then faded gently into his skin, leaving behind only warmth. Far away, deep in the void where forgotten empires slept, watchers recorded this moment, writing it into the chronicles of time. They named it the meal that ended the wars, and so, the legend of Elias and the Queen became more than history. It became a promise, a reminder passed from parent to child, from star to star, that no matter how far apart two hearts may be, one act of kindness can bring a galaxy together. Because one human shared his meal with a lonely queen and the universe never forgot.